Welcome all the warriors and all the seekers of justice and truth. And once again, welcome to Panzer Unleashed. And today we're going to do something a little different. I wanted to talk about what I've been labeled in the underworld community. And they call me the Disruptor. And I'm going to go ahead and do this segment about it. You know, cracking the fucking cop-cartel nexus block by block. And once again, people, you're not living in a fucking neighborhood. You're living in a strategically compromised zone. You know, the cartel moves money quietly through your streets, right under your nose. Often enabled by the willful ignorance and negligence, or even worse, protection from corrupted enforcements. And your local cops and government. But this is America, people, and we don't wait for saviors. We become them. We become the disruptor. And this segment right here is a call to awareness and discipline and lawful civilian resistance. And that's you, people. You want to take back your fucking neighborhood? Then you need to act like a citizen soldier. And you have to stay informed and be prepared. And within the law as well, people. Because let's break this fucking down into tactical tiers that focus on intelligence and public accountability and lawful countermeasures. Because this ain't no fucking fantasy, people. Just strategy. And let's go ahead and talk about recon and target acquisition. You can't hold anyone accountable unless you know what's fucking happening. The first phase is observation and public record research. And you want to go ahead and start with the property records. You know, they're like $1 to do all the research. But, you know, these are public and available in most countries. You know, you can look up addresses tied to suspicious activity and see who owns the property. And, you know, it's pretty convenient. You know, look for those red flag patterns, people. You know, the properties that are purchased with straight cash, or the multiple locations registered to similar shell companies, or those businesses that operate without clear service or clients. You know, you have to investigate lawfully, people. Use online country assessor records and document patterns of those unusual traffics, you know, and you have to note the fucking behaviors of these shady pieces of shit. And not identities, unless sourced from public documents. But, you know, this is about identifying red flags. Not accusing, not confronting, just building a lawful, transparent picture. And, you know, this is not about lone wolves, people. This is about community coordination. And from neighborhood watch groups focused on legal observation and information sharing. Because the Iron Voice Society is here, people. Here to help, here to awaken, and here to inform. And before we continue into the main op, we're going to go ahead and hop into this week's Intel briefing. And this is rot in plain sight. You know, this is the corruption roundup, people. So attention, all patriots out there, once again. This is where the truth is praised, and the rotten is exposed, and the complacent get woken. And I don't do fluff. I bring you hard-hitting intel on corruption, elite graft, message trafficking, and political manipulation. All operating in broad fucking daylight, mixed in with a sprinkle of cartel corruption. And this is 2025, the year of the system, and the year it gets cracked. Politicians indicted are cleared on political grounds. These federal watchdogs are gutted. These cartels entrenched. Mayors bought out, spooks fingered. I lay it all out there for you people. open and sourced, weaponized, and contextualized. If you're part of our pack on Gab, Odyssey, Goyam TV, Podbean, and soon to be Spotify, keep your eyes sharp and your files secure and your network ready. So let's go ahead and burn this rot the fuck down. And up first we have Mayor Eric Adams. Like I said, that corruption charge drop is really pissing people off out there. Back in April 2025, federal judge Dale Ho ordered the Doge to dismiss all corruption charges against the New York mayor, Eric Adams. The accusations included him accepting $125,000 worth of luxury travel bullshit from Turkish diplomats, engineering false paper trails and adding a Turkish concession without proper fire safety inspections dating back to 2014. And the dismissal came with no prejudice, but 7 Doge prosecutors resigned in protest, claiming the move was politically motivated. And now Adams is running as an independent, boasting Trump's indirect support while kind of painting himself as a crime fighter, all while leveraging Doge protection. And this isn't just local politics, it's a blueprint. Operate with a shadow framework, and you have to earn immunity through utility. Then flip the allegiance switch. Transparency, fucking dead. Public trust, that's fucking gone. And here's your blueprint, people, for the fucking future. Corruption's under the guise of public safety. You got Florida Sheriff Marcus Lopez arrested for racketeering, and it says that he's been accused of participating in a $21.6 million illegal gambling and corruption ring. His 2024 scandal, posting a pic of a murdered 13-year-old, was only a tip. And his downfall came after the HSI and FDLE joint sting. And, this is a cartel-style shredding of public trust. A sheriff at the epicenter, using law enforcement to run a fucking racket. This lesson, people, of corruption isn't always sworn enemies in suits. Sometimes they wear the badge. Every cop patrol, every budget line must be vetted. And we have here former Illinois Speaker Mike Madigan convicted on 10 fucking counts out of 23 counts, including bribery, wire fraud, conspiracy, and travel act violations. Michael Velvet Hammer Madigan, one of the most powerful state politicians in U.S. history, was convicted February 12th of 2025. Prosecutors alleged a quid pro quo involving ComEd, it's no work jobs for allies, and lobbyists pay-to-play agreements. The sentence was June 13th of 2025. He was sentenced to 7.5 years in federal prison, and his pension has been revoked. And Madigan wasn't just local, he was a systematic node linking Chicago politics to their underworld, and his conviction shows the corruption, that network can be broken. But, only after decades of massive evidence, you know what I'm saying? If you're going local, look for your fucking Madigans out there, people. And, you got right here former Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao indicted January 2025 alongside her partner in a $170,000 bribe for contract schemes. It says FBI, IRS, and Postal Inspection cooperated, tracing direct payments, $75,000 in negative ads, and $95K for no-show roles. It says this highlights the dangerous overlap of his municipal power and private interest. And, local corruption isn't always gun running, people. Sometimes it's landfill contracts and slow motion paychecks. Keep tabs on city council votes, public contracts, zoning approvals. Digitally map the money flow, people. That 5K check in Mali, follow it. The counselor we have here, Anderson, he accepted $7K in bribes for raising family pay and orchestrated kickback schemes. He is the Boston counselor. Tina Fernandez. Anderson pleads guilty. And it says the conflict of interest convictions for hiring relatives violated ethic rules. It says reported $32,000 in unreported donations. Just slipped into the pocket, into his Ferrari fund. Anyways, it says he agreed to step down and post guilty plea under federal wire fraud and theft charges. This isn't headline bullshit crap here, people. This isn't low-level betrayal. This is top of the food chain. And like I said, we have here May 29th, USDA employee and 5 co-conspirators indicted in massive $66 million SNAP fraud across New York. The scheme involved bribes and falsified benefit claims. Taxpayers' monies basically was siphoned through complicit officials. And the programs intended to reduce poverty became cash farms for corruption when oversight is soft. Teachers, counselors, and citizens, need to check the local SNAP distributions and audit. And we got right here, Dodge overhaul. It says here in June 2025, public integrity section was dismantled. Authority was stripped. The staff cut to 5 from all the way from 30 employees. And it says intended was to root out radical lawyers, but critics say it opens up doors for politically motivated prosecutions and shielding allies. And the watchdog, my friend, is neutered. Doge offices that prevented these misuses of power is fucking dead now. And the state ags and the U.S. attorneys operate unchecked. That means local corruption suppression is pure battlefield tactics now. And we got one right here. It says a soccer broadcast bribery. It says here in July 2nd of 2025, federal appeal courts reinstated bribery convictions on Hernan Lopez and Full Play Group over broadcast deals into Copa Libertadores company. It says Doge can now retry Lopez and Full Play. Supreme Court appeals looming. And, the same corruption playbook that buys off FIFA officials also works at home. Media, sports, influences in cartel regions. Follow the fucking sponsor money, people. And you have here former Senator Bob Mendez receives 11 years in prison. This is January 2025, being convicted for taking gold bars and bribes from Egypt and businessmen. A U.S. senator, not a back alley dealer, If they can be bought like this shit, it means every rug has been yanked out already, people. Everything's corrupt. You have to break that illusion that everything is fine and dandy, because it fucking isn't. And you have right here a FBI corruption sweep, June 2025 snapshot. As of June 30th of 2025, the FBI announced multiple arrests and sentences. It says former Santa Cruz treasurer was sentenced to 10 years for election fraud. Fulton County deputy sheriff for excessive tasing obstruction. New Orleans fraud schemes are on the rise as well. This rot spreads from state capitals to county offices. Not just national stage. They're hitting local systems hard. because that's where the money flows. And, you have 31 new federal corruption convictions, up 72% from December. Mix of local about 45%, law enforcement 23%. And like I said, anti-corruption crackdowns are happening, but only where intelligence is strong and political will allow. And the system still protects insiders and those power brokers. And what this means for disruption, people, you have to watch local officials, these mayors, city council members, sheriffs, cops even. Follow the money, people. And once again, this has been our intel briefing. And the system is bleeding, but still holds a gun to our heads. These politicians are pardoned, defended, and reelected, all within the same sentence. Watchdogs dismantled. Watch them cycle the same fucking spin to pump up the spineless. And your mission is clear, people. Monitor locally, expose publicly. Never trust the shield out there, and build pressure from the ground up. And this isn't just some bullshit background noise. It's a fucking guidebook. Study it. Download it. Map it to your fucking block. Ask those tough questions, at those town hall meetings, and make sure to print the details and share the network. And once again, people, you have to stay sharp and stay vigilant out there, because the moment you back down is the moment they flood your peace. That is our intel briefing. Let's go ahead and get back into the main op. Make sure to keep logs of local public incidents. Share official updates from local law enforcement. And make sure to cross-check publicity, accessible legal documents, and use encrypted messaging apps for privacy. And you have to maintain your professionalism, people. And this isn't a civic duty. It's not a fucking hobby. It's a way of life. And, the cartels and corrupt networks, they fucking thrive in the shadows, people. And your job is to shine a lawful light on them. Make them fucking squirm. And start educational outreach. Create public flyers with facts, from verified sources, and go ahead and share those reports from the local news or those watchdog groups. Use the online forums, community boards, all that. All the social media you can get your hands on, people. Utilize it. You have to be factual and respectful and focused. Avoid all the doxing of the personal crap. Stick to legal information and reporting. Examples of tools, the Freedom of Information Act, people. Requests. Your local government meeting recordings, public arrest and case records. Your mission is to inform, not to incite people. And the system has laws for a reason, so fucking use them. Zoning complaints. If a property is basically clearly violating zoning laws, report that shit. I'm not talking about some Karen bullshit. I'm talking about these fucking scumbags. Once you identify them, like I said, once you become an iron voice, you can smell them. The way they look, the way they operate. They give themselves away, people. And all their fucking environmental hazards and safety hazards. If their property fucking poses public health risk, contact the authorities, God damn it. And, the Freedom of Information Act, requests, they demand transparency from city officials and agencies, about the policy decisions and expedites. And this isn't harassment. It's a responsible civic engagement. You're holding these officials accountable through legal mechanisms. So keep yourself informed and protected, people. Use secure apps to discuss your sensitive topics. And make sure you research your local area with mapping tools and public databases. And learn how to spot disinformation campaigns. And if you're involved with any advocacy or watch programs regularly, update your cybersecurity knowledge to avoid spreading unverified claims. And visibility is powerful when done peacefully and legally. Attend city council meetings. I can't stretch that enough. And ask questions on the record. Organize peacefully, community rallies to raise awareness about the local crime issues is a must, but do it peacefully. You can't be out there chimping out like all these crazy people waving those Mexican flags around, destroying our neighborhoods. We're not those types of people. We have class, we have morals, we love the United States. And make sure to partner out there, people. You have to partner with local nonprofits or cleanup groups, to reclaim public spaces. And presence matters. Always remember that. You have to show that your neighborhood is awake and engaged. And train legally and stay sharp and protect your home responsibilities. And you have to do what you got to do to survive. Install your surveillance cameras, every day. Take those pictures. They walk by touching their nose, scratching their heads. You already know the deal, kid. Like I said, incorporate it into the montages of the other videos you have. And all right, before we continue, we're going to go ahead and hop into this week's tactical breakdown. We got top 5 backpack and everyday carry weapons for the modern patriot. So once again, welcome back, warriors. And this is your loadout laboratory, your battlefield prep station, your motherfucking gear room for the modern street soldier. So today, we're going to go ahead and dive into something every prepared American needs dialed in and ready. And that is your backpack weapons and your everyday carry tools. And I'm not talking all your fancy gear, Rambo. I'm talking practical, concealable, and legal, and lethal. And the kinds of tools that give you the edge when the fight finds you. And whether you're just traveling light through the cartel-influenced corridors, or you're just keeping your six secure during urban recon, this gear list will elevate your survival, your defense, and your disruption potential. So let's go ahead and gear on up. And we are going to start right at the top. Fuck waiting around for it. Number 1 is the Kel-Tec Sub 2000 Gen 2, 9mm as well as 40 cal Smith & Wesson. The price range is $500 to $600. It's a collapsible rifle that folds in half for ultra-compact storage in any backpack. Also takes Glock magazines, especially useful in your already carrying Glock, definitely. So it weighs in just about 4.25 pounds. Nothing bulky, no drag, and can legally be carried in a backpack in most states with a CCW or a unloaded with a locked transport. It folds down just under about 16 inches. It's trunk ready and bug out ready. So make sure to check out the Kel-Tec Sub 2000 Gen 2. And in second, we have the Sig Sauer P365 X Marco 9mm. Price ranges between $700 to $800. It's a compact pistol with high capability and capacity, 17 plus 1 in the chamber rounds in a subcompact form. Optics are ready with a built-in compensator for recoil control. It's ideal for inside waistband or shoulder rig or backpack ready holster. It's definitely reliable, concealable sidearm anyway, and it's perfect for those operating in civilian clothes or layered tactical wear. Make sure to check it out. Number 2, that was the Sig Sauer P365 X Marco 9mm. In 3, Number 3, we have Cold Steel Chaos Bowie Fixed Blade. The price ranges between $80 and $110. And it's a full tank 12-inch blade with a D-ring guard handle for reserve or forward grip. It's razor sharp carbon steel, shock resistant. It's not just a knife, it's a fucking backup survival weapon. It can break glass and defend in hand-to-hand and intimidate on the draw. Make sure to check that out. That's the Cold Steel Chaos Bowie Fixed Blade. Number 4, we have the ASP Talon Infinity Baton. This price ranges between $150 and $180. And this is the T5-21-inch extended model. It's very lightweight, quick deploying baton made of 4140 steel. It has a push button for close and for speed and silence. It's excellent for non-lethal threat control, crowd movement, or close quarter combat. Used by law enforcement globally. Once again, that is the ASP Talon Infinity Baton, the 250 21-inch model. Next up, last but not least, we have the Mace Pepper Gun, the 2.0 Saber Pepper Gel with the UV dye. And this ranges between $40 and $60. It's long-range OC spray with UV dye for suspect identification. That's pretty fucking nifty. For non-lethal, it's legal in most states and highly effective. It's ideal for layered defense or escalation control. Great for women, teens, and elderlies in your household who need protection options. Up next, we got a little bonus actually for you guys. This is the best backpack and why. And up for number 1, we have the Vertex Gamut 2.0 Everyday Carry Backpack. It ranges between $200 and $250. It's low profile. You have to look with the hidden weapon compartments. It has a bunch of different knickknacks in there to hide around. And, cool little bag. It's great for rapid access pull tabs and padded interior. And it fits most of the carbines out there, and it breaks down the rifle like a sub 2000. And it's a gray man exterior. It's a heavy-duty tactical interior. It's used by private contractors and security professionals for low visible movement. Once again, make sure to check that out. That is the Vertex Gamut 2.0 Everyday Carry Backpack. And once again, there you have it, soldiers. It's 5 tactical weapons and a bonus little backpack I set up right there. And it ain't just going to sit pretty on your Instagram page, That's not what it's for, Don't buy it and just take pictures and pose with it. This gear is for momentum, and this is for defense survival. And this is backed by legality, people, and built for the real world chaos that we're dealing with. And you're not carrying tools because you want to fucking fight. You're carrying them because you refuse to be a statistic. Prepare like you live in a hostile environment, because you fucking do, people. Train hard, carry smart, and stay alert. And once again, people, this has been the Tactical Breakdown. And before we continue, my friends, let's go ahead and get into this week's Signal Boost. And this right here, this is my warrior roll call. And this is my salute to all of you out there, standing tall, heads high, spine straight. Even when the world tries to beat you into silence, you stand strong. Once again, welcome to the Signal Boost. And this is the digital trench, where I light the fires for those of you fighting in your own way. In the streets, in your homes, in the court of the public opinion, and in the information war. And to every soldier of truth tuning in from Gab to the warriors over at Odyssey, holding the line against censorship, and to the diehards tuning in via Goyam TV, Your strength, your shares, your repost, your bravery in the face of this digital tyranny, and all you amazing content creators, you matter. And you will never be forgotten. Because you were not just views, not just fucking clicks. You are a fucking pillar in this fight. And you're the last line between total narrative domination and the raw, unfiltered, unchained truth. Every time you share a clip, people, every time you quote a segment, every time you repost a link, you are disrupting the machine. You are keeping the voice alive. Not just fucking mine, but yours. This movement, this doesn't work without you. This isn't some fucking show where you listen and move on. This is an operation, people. And you're a part of it. And I want to speak directly to you. Not just the fucking loud voices, but the quiet warriors out there. The ones who sit at work surrounded by blue-pilled fucking dut-does, pretending the world is fine, while their guts tell them something's off. And we know you're not fucking paranoid. You're not broken. You're not overthinking. You're fucking right. You feel what's coming because your instincts aren't poisoned like theirs. And yet, you stay silent. Well, for now, but you're listening. You're fucking storing. You're learning. And that makes you dangerous, my friend. And I love that. So to every man and woman who listens to Panzer Unleashed before bed, during your commute, while you're lifting weights, or while you're walking your dog, or doing recon in your neighborhood, whatever you're doing, and I see you. And to those of you spreading the word, sending the files to families, and dropping the audios on the Telegram groups, you know, putting those truth on those USB drives and passing them around to the Iron Voice Society, we thank you. And like I said, we appreciate all the digital ammo. You are the true disruptors out there, people. And you are what keeps the truth moving. Even when the platforms try to shadow ban, silence, or slander us. This is my shadow to you people. To the dedicated listeners out there in West Texas, you know, I appreciate you. All of the feedback on the podcast, as well as all of the crew out there in Utah building your own local podcast network. You know, you have to keep expanding. As well as to the ex-vet on Gab, who's been hitting those town halls. That's what I'm talking about. You know, confronting those board meetings. You know, you are the example, my friend. And once again, to those of you on Gab who repost every episode like a digital rallying point, I see every one of you. You are the circuit in this broadcast operation. And you don't need to be famous. You just need to be effective. So keep sending the signals, my friend. And Gab is not a hobby site. It's an airfield of information. As well as Odyssey, it's not a backup platform. It's our video war zone, people. As well as Goyam TV, you're keeping the lens pointed at the beast even when it fails back. And you hold the line. So make sure to keep sharing, and share it again, people. And make sure to check out all the amazing content creators there. And listen, I do know some of you feel isolated, okay? Like you're alone in this fight. And maybe your friends think you're gone off the deep end. And maybe your wife kind of rolls her eyes every time you pull up another stat about a Fed laundering dope money. You know, maybe your boss gives you those dirty looks when you say, nah, I don't trust the Doge. You know, I get it. But let me tell you something loud and fucking clear. You're not crazy. You're early. And they hate early warning systems. That's why they target truth tellers. That's why they censor us. They shut me down. I had 189,000 followers on Facebook. And just like that, gone. 4 years of hard work on there. And that's why they come after creators like me, like you, and like anybody who dares to say, hold the fuck up, you know, this don't add up, you know, because when you start thinking for yourself, you unplug from their fucked up system, and when you unplug, you threaten their grip. So, yeah, you know, Panzer Unleashed isn't some fucking feel-good bedtime podcast. You know, this is fucking fire. This is fuel, my friends. And this is a field training, you know, for those mental wars. And I'm honored. Honored that you choose to listen and that you bring this into your homes, into your minds, into your missions. And we're not just expanding across Gab. You know, we're live now on Podbean, figuring out some more stuff. You know, if you're into the whole social media stuff and expanding and all that good stuff, you know, we're looking for a media team to help contribute. And hopefully we're going to be soon on Spotify and a couple other platforms. And once that syndication trail hits full throttle, my friends, will be impossible to ignore. And to my high-speed operators who listen in the morning before training, keep your blade sharp, my friends. And to the truckers tuning in from the road, you are the heartbeat of this country. You know, stay safe out there on the road and stay dangerous, my friends. And to the parents building neighborhood intel works, you know, while you're homeschooling your kids in truth, you know, you are the front line. You know, and to the young men out there sitting in silence, watching this broadcast, you know, the decay is there, my friend. And it's creeping on you, and you're gonna wonder what to do. And that starts here, my friend. This is where you're gonna learn. You need to listen and build, then act within the law and speak the truth and fear no one. You have to build discipline, train, prep, and share, my friend. And you are not a powerless person. And you're not just one guy. You know, every listener is a new node in the network. Every subscriber is a blade forged. And every share is a shot fired into this info war. And this is not about LARPing. This is about being the last standing fucking firewall between liberty and total control. And you don't need a massive following. You need a fucking spine and a voice and the truth. And if you got those three, then welcome to the motherfucking front lines. So stay tuned and keep boosting the signal, my friends. And do not forget, every time you repost an episode, every time you recommend Panzer Unleashed, and every time you send a clip to a friend, that's tactical communication. That's true disruption. That's resistance, my friends. And we're not done. We're just getting fucking started. And for those who hate this show, all the haters that talk shit, I know my face isn't marketable. I'm not fucking looking to get girlies over here. You know what I'm saying? And let me make that really fucking clear. We're not going any fucking where. And to the haters, good. Like I said, you know, you can watch us grow. And to the brave, stand tall, my friends. And to the real ones out there, I got your motherfucking six, 24/7. And this has been your signal boost, my friends, from the digital foxhole to the last free zones on the internet. Gab, Odyssey, Goyam TV, and everywhere else we haven't been banned yet. So thank you. And we'll see you soon on Podbean, and we're coming up on Spotify as well. And we're going to rip through that motherfucking noise like a damn freight train. So let's get back into this main op, my friends. Take personal safety and de-escalation classes. You know, do them online. Do them however you can. And get certified in first aid and emergency response. I can't stretch that enough as well. And if you own a firearm, then make sure that you fucking train as much as possible. Or if you're an old school head, you know, and you've trained, many years, and you can fucking drop that down and, you know, hit that bullseye with a quickness no matter what, you know. It's always good to stay sharp, you know. Don't get too rusty. And make sure to follow all the local and federal laws, people. Know your fucking rights and know your responsibilities. Like I said, there's no superheroes coming to fix your neighborhood, people. But there are citizens out there who become strong, smarter, and more prepared. And you don't need permission to protect what's yours, people, but you do need discipline, legality, and resolve. So make sure to be vigilant, be lawful, and be fucking relentless, people. And once again, this is the Disruptor. This is fucking Scott Panzer Paulson. Out. Iron Voice Society.